And joining us now is the one and only BYU offensive coordinator, Jeff Grimes, on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline. Coach, we know you're busy. We know you're recruiting. Great to have you with us on the show. Thanks for taking some time with us.
Hey, glad to be here, guys.
Let's start our conversation with your running backs group right now coming out of spring football. How would you rate them and the depth as a whole?
Well, I would say the depth is certainly better than it was, and we've spent a lot of time in developing the players we have and going out and trying to recruit and bring in some more guys. What the quality is like is yet to be determined. I think we'll know maybe by the end of September.
Absolutely. That's certainly going to be a challenge, and some good defensive lines on the schedule. You added Emmanuel Eskupa out of Rice, a grad transfer you just alluded to and mentioned trying to get more depth there. What does Emmanuel Eskupa add to this group?
Well, he's a guy that is a very intriguing prospect. You know, he's not a young guy, but in some ways he's still a developing running back. Coach Stewart recruited him to Rice as a guy who played very limited. I think he only played 1 year of running back in high school. Had been a defensive end, had done some other things prior to that, and then was kind of raw and young to the position at Rice. Began to have some success and break into their lineup, and then struggled with some injuries. So he's a guy that's got great size and good speed for a guy that's 230 plus. So I'm excited to see what he can bring to the table.
BYU offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes with us on BYU Sports Nation. I think everybody naturally is very concerned about the recovery process of your quarterback, Zach Wilson, after he emerged in those final 7 games, and in his last start goes 18 for 18. So what can you tell us about the status of Zach and his recovery after shoulder surgery?
No one is more concerned than I am. I can promise you that.
Certainly so.
It's too early to say. I have every indication that there was that a successful surgery was done. A great doctor did it, and he's progressing as he should through rehab. But he's still I would say probably a month and a half or so, maybe 2 months away from doing. So we'll have to see how he is as he gets a little further along. But we have every indication that he'll be back and be fine.
In fall camp, how do you approach the quarterback situation, given that it appeared that Jaren had a good spring, and of course you have Joe Critchlow who's been here a couple years. Do you go in with Zach Wilson because he's been the starter as kind of the incumbent guy, and then if there's a challenger, he can meet him? How do you handle that in fall camp?
Yeah, I think when you've had a guy perform as Zach did during games, then he certainly has the right to come in as the incumbent starter. And Zach obviously proved that last year, although also Jaren had a tremendous spring. And so we'd be crazy to not try to figure out how to play both of those guys. But, you know, any position is one that you say you have to earn your job every year, and that's something that we've preached since we've been here. And so I think that's obviously still the case, and I think Zach knows that. But I certainly believe that he'll win the position, and I believe that we'll see Jaren play some, even while Zach is healthy.
What do you envision that potentially being like? Is that putting both on the field at the same time, or specialty packages for Jaren like you sampled with last year a little bit?
You know, I've been told in the past that I like to play my cards close to my vest.
Oh, it's just us. No one's listening, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
correct
answer.
I'll say that about it. Like I said, in regards to the quality of the running backs, we'll know by the end of September.
Yeah, yes, we will.
If you had to pinpoint your strongest offensive position group coming out of spring, who are you giving the nod to on April 23rd?
Well, if I was to base it strictly on what happened during spring ball, I'd give the nod to the receivers. I think those guys had a great spring. Fessy did a tremendous job coaching and developing them, and and that without Aleva being a part of the group, who's probably one of our top overall playmakers from a year ago. But those guys were just unbelievably consistent, hardworking, and I was really pleased with the progress of the entire group. But then I'd say there were two other groups where we had significant players who didn't do a lot during spring, tight ends being one of those positions where we have what I think is a really deep stable of talented players, but most of those guys didn't get to do anything during the spring. And then with Zach and Jaren's emergence, I would say that the quarterback position is going to be really strong as well.
Those two tight ends are interesting, and this is a place where tight end has been a tremendous place. It reminds me of, and perhaps I'm going too far on this, but the 96 had Chad Lewis and Atula Mealy, two guys who ended up playing in the NFL. We'll see on these two guys, but Matt Bushman and Moroni Lauluputitau are certainly great options for you as the OC.
Yeah, those guys both bring just an amazing skill set for guys their size. Just a really, really tough matchup, in a number of ways for our defense. And then, we've got some other guys that we feel like are going to be really good players there as well. So I'm excited about what that position can bring to our offense.
Jeff Grimes, BYU football offensive coordinator on BYU Sports Nation. When you look at making changes to the schemes of your offense, do you want to go faster? I mean, is there kind of something that's going to be drastically different from what we saw last year because of the emergence of Zach Wilson?
Well, I think you saw us play the latter half of the year a little bit closer to what this season would look like rather than the early part of the year, and that being Zach's emergence and the skill set that we have on offense. And I think that one of the best things we did when we came here as a staff was put together an offense that's versatile, one that can go fast, one that can go slow. And really, ideally, that's what I would like to do with the tempo, is change the tempo on the defense. And at times, like we did last year, go super fast, and then at other times go at a moderate pace. But by and large, yeah, I'd like to have a few more snaps than we had on last year's total.
Last time we chatted with you, or maybe it was the time before, I don't know. We had you on like 3 weeks in a row. It was awesome. I can't remember. You mentioned that you went to UC Davis. Now, that's Dan Hawkins. He's known for slinging it and trying to, put up 50 a game and whatnot. And you mentioned you want to not just hope that you score 50, but expect that you score 50. So what did you take from that trip to UC Davis that you hope to implement this season?
It's good to talk with other guys who do some things similar to you. And, like there may be one particular route that, hey, on this, when we do this, our number 3 receiver does this instead of that. And, hey, on this run, what RPO do you like to pair with that? And there were just a number of things that we talked about and some things that I got from them that were things that we may tweak just a little bit in our offense. But there's a lot of that going on. A lot of our offensive coaches spend a lot of time talking with other guys, and we spend a lot of time watching film. Some college teams, but a lot of NFL film as well. That's one thing that I think is really cool now is you see that, it used to be the trickle-down theory in football, so what you saw in the NFL, soon thereafter you would see in college and then in high school. And now it seems like it's kind of moving the opposite direction. And here from the last couple of years, you've seen NFL teams with college-style quarterbacks do a few more of the things that have happened in college. And so it's been enjoyable to be able to watch a little bit more NFL film with things that are more similar to what we're doing.
BYU offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes with us. He's on the recruiting trail. And speaking of that, Coach, where do your adventures take you over the next few weeks?
I'll be in Vegas for a day, Seattle for a day, the next couple of days, and then next week, the next couple of weeks, I'll be in Arizona mainly. That's my major recruiting area, so I'll spend most of the next 2 weeks there, and then just spot some different areas, finishing up some offensive players after that.
Well, let's give you some BYU Sports Nation karma to go out and recruit well. We know how hard you work, and thankfully you've got the Grimes boys in control back in Utah to take care of any household projects.
Yeah, I hope that's correct.
Thanks, Coach. Safe travels. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, take care, guys.